Hello, friends. This is Sam Chaney reporting for Weaponized News. Today, January 12th, 2026. Thank you for joining us on this special Monday edition. We have Simon on the line. Let me get through the intro quickly. We'll bring him on and get into all of the news for you today. The official U.S. Department of Labor is now a Q account, apparently, pumping that propaganda. And so over the weekend, they said, or was it Friday? They said, trust the plan. And then today, patriots are in control. And so who knows how many people still buying this, but they're pumping it from official accounts. And surprisingly, over the weekend, too, maybe not surprisingly, but a lot of official government accounts pumping straight up debunked war propaganda out of Iran. The young lady holding the picture of the Ayatollah on fire, lighting her cigarette, straight up Bernaysian level propaganda. They don't care. It's been thoroughly debunked. That's not Iran, not the place, time, event. It don't matter. They're pumping that propaganda for war. What else do we got today for you? Well, the Federal Reserve Chairman Powell under investigation there for mortgage fraud or lying to Congress, actually. And so they're twisting that all around. We'll cover that. And we have well, over the weekend, which we already knew those following it for many years, it's now been again quietly admitted by the U.S. government it's using direct energy weapons. Kind of a big development, but yeah, so they're using direct energy weapons. We have that clip and just beating the war drums all over the place. Cuba, Mexico, Colombia, Greenland. Who's next? Who's next on U.S. hit list? We bombed ISIS in Syria. That is U.S. CENTCOM, U.S. Central Command over the weekend. Did a big bombing. Nobody notices. Nobody cares. Turns out these U.S. billionaires, the technocrats, all your favorite big tech bros, they've been eyeing Greenland for a long time, and part of the reason why we want Greenland, we'll get into all that, a great place for the data centers to run the AI, and call it Freedom City. And we have this. Simon's going to go over with us this speech by the Commissioner for Defense and Space out of the EU, the intellectual Big Bang, he calls it. And so we're going to go over that. Geopolitically, how is it going to affect U.S., Europe, the rest of the world? And then, as per usual, the genocide continues in the Aardvark land, never-ending bombing campaigns, and so on, and never-ending artillery fire into Gaza there now. And we're back on the old yellow line, and so Aardvark land is still demolishing Gaza, even under ceasefire. So they're leveling the whole place. And that's what we call a ceasefire. Let's get to on this day in history, and then we'll bring on Simon and get to all this news for you. Thank you, everybody, for joining us on this special Monday edition, special time with Simon. Okay, quickly, let me blast through this day in history. On this day of January 12th, going back to the year 1493, they were noticing there in Sicily, and it was the last day for all aardvarks to leave Sicily, 1493. In 1803, the New Orleans Purchase was approved by U.S. Senate. That was Thomas Jefferson's nomination of James Monroe and Robert Livingston to negotiate purchase of New Orleans from France. Are we going to see that or military action with Greenland? Trump says one way or another. In 1816, on this day, France decrees the Bonaparte family is excluded from the country forever. In 1863, on this day, Confederate President Davis delivers his State of the Confederacy address. That was very short-lived, wasn't it? In 1940, on this day, in World War II, Soviets bomb numerous cities in Finland. In 1953, on this day, 9 aardvark physicians, quote, physicians are arrested for terrorist activities in Moscow. In 1961, on this day, we saw the UN Genocide Pact go into effect, and then saw America subsequently ignore it and laugh about it. In 1962, on this day, Operation Chopper begins, America's first combat mission in the Vietnam War. Also, on this date, 1962, Operation Ranch Hand begins, the U.S. Air Force operation to spray South Vietnamese forest with defoliants such as Agent Orange. In 1966, on this day, LBJ, Lyndon Baines Johnson, says U.S. should stay in South Vietnam until communist aggression ends. 1971, on this day, U.S. federal grand jury indicts Reverend Philip Bergen and 5 others, including a nun and 2 priests, on charges of plotting to kidnap Henry Kissinger. I know, God forbid that would ever happen. 1991, on this day, U.S. Congress gives George H.W. Bush authority to wage war against Iraq. 1995, on this day, the murder trial against O.J. Simpson begins in Los Angeles. In 2010, on this day, earthquake devastates Haiti, killing an estimated 100 to 160,000 people and destroying the majority of the capital city, Port-au-Prince. But don't you worry about that tragedy and the victims. Hillary Clinton and her foundation went in there to further exploit and traffic the victims there in Haiti, lending a helping hand as per usual out of the Clinton Foundation. In 2022, then UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson admits he attended a Bring Your Own Booze staff party in May 2020 during the country's first lockdown, as it should be. As it should be. And then just last year, a year ago on this day, 2025, Governor Gavin Newsom says the California wildfires will be one of the worst natural disasters in U.S. history, having burned through 40,000 acres, damaged about 12,000 structures, and killed at least 24 people. Not so much wildfires. They've actually arrested a few people for arson, but that's left out here now. As we remember the tragic event a year ago of LA burning. And let's play Simon Segway, the Pixies, and we'll get right to all this news for you. Simon, how you doing this Monday? It's our same problem. Wow. Okay, well, we're going to muddle through it. Can you hear me? Very odd here, Restream. I think I'm going to email them over this because we were connected very well before we went live, and now we're having issues again. So something is not right here. As we try to connect with Simon. Are you there, Simon?
Hello there, Sam. Can you hear me okay? Because I can't get...
Mm-hmm. Something's up when we go live. Our connection breaks. Very bizarre here. Try to log out and log back in. Extremely painful here. Well, we're trying to sort out the connection with Simon. Let's get to, well, here's your government propaganda from the Department of Labor, Q. They're still doing this. It's hard to believe, but they are. It's Monday. Patriots are in control. And from the official U.S. Department of Labor account on X, straight up Q propaganda. It's hard to believe, but they're still doing it. They're still doing it. Simon, how's the connection now? Still not good, huh? Well, let's take a look back here. Here's Trump asked on absolute immunity. He did campaign on immunity for police, so we shouldn't be shocked by this. Here he is asked yesterday about absolute immunity for ICE officer who shot Renee Good.
The administration has advocated for absolute immunity for the ICE officer who shot Renee Good. How do you define absolute immunity? What does that mean?
Everyone's seen it. And the woman was very violent. She's a very radical person. Very sad what happened. Her friend was very radical. Go and drive.
Absolute immunity. How would you define that?
Well, I'm going to let the people define it. But immunity, you know what immunity means as well as I do.
So that officer should be back on the force?
You can't be treating law enforcement that way, whether it's ICE or Border Patrol or our police and men and women. You can't do that. We have, the law enforcement in our country is doing really well, despite the fact that Sleepy Joe Biden allowed people to pour through an open border. Crime stats just came out. We have the best crime stats on record.
How's the connection now, Simon? Still not good, huh? Damn it. Well, Renee Goods has a makeshift memorial set up there. Here's a...
I can hear you fine now, Sam.
Okay, go ahead.
I can hear you.
Go ahead, Simon.
In undisclosed location with particularly expensive communications, so we're going to try and struggle through this. But it certainly is interesting times in which we live at the moment, and there have been some quite dramatic developments over the weekend. In particular, the speech not been getting as much coverage as it is due. It's interesting that the Supreme Allied Commander of Europe, the top American general for NATO, was at that event as well. And he basically pretended that there was no issue with Greenland whatsoever. So there was a bit of a disconnect in the two keynote speakers. But our audience will listen also noticed we have one theme throughout our musical interludes today as well. So I hope that the audience enjoy my selections for that.
Let's play this propaganda out of the White House. Stand with ICE, stand with law enforcement. Kristi Noem will hang. They're chanting there in Minnesota.
Here, when they hear the mayor of their city, can you pull behind them? It's ICE. They're trying to kidnap people. Please pull behind them.
The president stands with ICE. I stand with ICE. We stand with all of our law enforcement officers.
So it doesn't feel like they're creating unnecessary provocation here now when all the former presidents have deported more than Trump without all this.
Yeah, I mean, there do appear to be some significant missteps. It's now alleged that the woman who was shot and killed by ICE was actually alive for 15 minutes, and they refused to allow ambulance crews to render her aid. So if that actually gets verified, that's going to look particularly stinky indeed. And people are pointing out that that's very common with the RVOCs, where they shoot people, and even if there's ambulances around, that they don't allow them to be evacuated to a medical center. So
Isn't that the problem we're learning now? Is these U.S. government law enforcement agencies are trained by the IDF?
Yes, lots of them are. Yeah. And that's where basically their utter contempt for civil rights comes from.
Because they're viewing everyone, Americans, as domestic terrorists.
Yep, that's exactly the situation.
And we have that sentiment reiterated here by Vice President J.D. Vance, posted from the White House today. He says that we're not going to give into terrorism on this. So they're calling any resistance against U.S. federal troops on the streets, essentially. Here
And the message that sends to the ICE guys is that they are fighting against terrorists. So it dehumanizes the people that they're operating against, which it should be remembered in many cases are actually US citizens.
Oh man, it's looking bad. It's looking real bad. I would expect more escalations here now, which is what they want. But thankfully, Trump, in his infinite narcissism, the White House posted this. Here's a new national portrait at the National Portrait Gallery in Washington, D.C. Here's an image of Trump they very proudly posted at the White House today. Fist. Yeah, comments on this? Can you see this?
But that's in addition to the one that was put out on Truth Social, where the logo under his portrait was changed to acting president of Venezuela.
We have that report too. I think I'd have it in the Venezuela section. Let's see. Yeah, they're pumping this America 250th anniversary this July 4th, and we're going to see never-ending propaganda about that. They're especially propping up the Washington Monument as a centerpiece of it. Let's see here. Well, okay, on to this, as you've been reporting and warning about how the economy is booming due to Trump tariffs. Turns out, well, let's read it, because when's it? It's due. The ruling is due. Going to be coming out this Wednesday. Is it what's being reported, Simon?
Yeah, originally there was talk that it was going to come out last Friday. Remember that there had been speculation that it was going to be issued before Christmas. Now it appears that it's coming out on Wednesday this week, and Trump he's obviously been given some heads up on this, as seems likely given the magnitude of the financial consequences. And he's saying that it's going to cost more than $1 trillion to issue the refunds for people and businesses that have been subjected to tariffs, and that it's going to be so complicated and have such an effect on the country that it will take years to unravel. But the other thing that's got to be pointed out is that if it's deemed to have been unconstitutional, those actions have actually forced businesses that were reselling, in particular, Chinese products, then there's potential for hundreds of billions of dollars of economic damages lawsuit claims. And Trump's promised that everybody is going to get a $2,000 tariff check, like the COVID checks, and Lutnick promising Trump that we could do away with US federal income tax for anybody earning under $200,000 a year. All of this stuff goes completely out the window. And it should be remembered that most of the trade deals are only framework agreements, and the details hadn't been finalized, and documents had, in many cases, not been signed, and in other cases had not been ratified. So all of those trade deals, which were conducted under massive pressure from the Trump administration, all of those are likely to completely unravel. And indeed, the US-EU trade deal, which was widely seen by Europeans as being incredibly lopsided, that is already under threat threat due to Trump's talk of annexing Greenland. So a lot of the economic benefits that are one of the few major policy victories for Trump administration 2.0 will be in deep, deep, deep jeopardy, if not to say doo-doo, if the Supreme Court does actually rule against him. And it seemed very, very clear, frankly, to me, and I've been making this point, for, as you say, for many months, that his actions were unlawful. But it's possible, as he spells out the consequences and tells people that they're now not going to get their $2,000 checks, that Congress will rush something through in order to provide him with the authorization that he requires. He is able to put industries, but it's nothing like the kind of numbers that he's imposing on countries such as China, where at one point tariffs, I believe, went to 154%. But as we've seen, China did not blink. They did not blink, and they said, "Fine, we'll put like 1,050% tariffs on America, and by the way, we're not going to sell you any rare earth metals." And then the Pentagon suddenly rushed to Congress and said, we're getting like 90% of our rare earth metals from the Chinese, and we can't build like electrical motors or many, many other critical products for drones without these materials. So this is the problem, that they didn't have a strategic stockpile of those kind of materials that would be needed in a war. And we talked about the bismuth and the wolfram and the antimony that they've got less than 90-day supplies of, and then they cease to be able to make many types of artillery shells.
You would think they would have got all their ducks in a row before they went on this imperial warmongering campaign around the world, but it's like a fly-by-night. Here's everything that Simon said in that Trump post, and let me read you the last sentence in regards to the Supreme Court ruling on the tariffs. Trump said, if the Supreme Court rules against the United States of America on this national security bonanza, we're screwed, as Simon illustrated to us there. And so a lot is going to
and he says it'll take years to unravel, because they literally, it's just like with your social security contributions, they spent the money. There is no money in the jar. It wasn't ring fenced. So now if they suddenly have to give everyone a refund, just as they're in the process of, what is it they're rolling over this year? $9 trillion in treasuries that are rolling over this year. And they suddenly have to come up with another 1 or 2 trillion on top of that. It's looking real stinky. And then if there's a lot of talk of the Saudis refusing to roll over, they're asking for their money back along with the Chinese. That down to 6% on the 30-year, but that may be short-lived.
Here's Trump trying to push his domestic.
Lost your audio there, Sam.
Oh, I'm still here, but here's Trump pushing his domestic economic populist message. I don't know how this is going to sort out.
Audio's down.
Try to log out and log back in, I guess.
Can you hear me again now, Sam?
Mm-hmm. We're putting one.
I'm going to have to just log out and log back in because I've lost your audio. Okay, back in straight away.
Here's Trump. We're putting a 1-year cap at 10%. The credit card companies have totally abused the public. I'm not going to let that happen. Let's hear this. I don't know how the president has the authority to even do this, but here's what he's saying.
I want a cap on credit card interest rates because, some of them are 28, almost 30%. And people don't know they're paying 30%. The people out there, they're working and they have no idea that they're paying 30%. No way. We're putting a 1-year cap at 10%, and that's it. They know it. And they really...
People don't even know what interest rate. Maybe some not. Maybe some don't. I don't know. We're that economically illiterate. I don't know how Trump has the power to do that, but that's what he's now pitching that idea as we await to try to get Simon back on the line here. Here's well, not in my state, California. According to the White House, they're saying that gas prices are down. 43 U.S. states with gas prices under $3 a gallon. May very well be true in all these states colored in red, but it's definitely not true here in California, as the state of California adds on an additional, $1.25 at least. I think it's even more than that in state taxes and regulations on top of the price of a gallon of gas. So happy low gas prices for the rest of America, as we're over here in the occupied territory of high gas prices, California. Take a look at that map one more time. This whole area right here and over here, right? Yeah. Simon's back. Let's see if how's our connection is. How's our connection now, Simon?
So hear me, but I still can't hear you at all. I have no audio from you at all.
Yeah, not good. Back and forth. Mortgage rates just fell below 6% for the first time in years. And the SBA is launching a truly unprecedented investigation into pandemic era fraud that until now has never been pursued or prosecuted. We're leveraging every available resource. That's a lawfuller senator during the bat time. She profited handsomely off of it. I'm sure there'll be no investigation into her. She's now the head of the Small Business Administration. And they're going to use Palantir to go ahead and do this investigation, as was always the plan from the very beginning. SBA turns to Palantir after Minnesota fraud allegations spark a national probe. And so you would think it would be a bigger contract, but a $300,000 contract with Palantir to investigate all of this fraud has been announced today by the Small Business Administration. Let's see how our connection is with Simon. Simon, are you there? How's that?
Yes, I can hear you well now. Thank you very much. Yeah, I did retweet it, but I'm not sure we added it to our list of stories, so I'll just mention it briefly. There's been a huge legislative announcement in Australia where their parliament has been recalled 2 weeks early, specifically to jam through a social cohesion set of laws that are going to greatly reduce the threshold by which organizations and individuals can be prosecuted for inciting racial hatred. And there's going to be a new offence that's going to be very easy to be convicted on, 5-year jail penalty, and they're also going to be spending an enormous amount of money on doing a far program. What's very alarming is, despite the fact that this is a really massive piece of legislation, they're trying to jam through the entire process in just 8 calendar days, including the weekend. 8 days.
Turning the screws of tyranny down there in the land down under.
Yeah, and because they've linked it to that Bondi Beach shooting, they're going to make it much more difficult for people to obtain firearms licenses. And then, as well as having, like California, and particularly in counties like Los Angeles County, where you'd have to show a purpose for why you needed it to have a license to carry a firearm or to even own a firearm. It's not carrying, it's not concealed carry. It's even to own one. And so that's going to be essentially done in some appeals process.
Well, anything to stop terrorism. Talk about terrorism. What about the Federal Reserve? What they've been doing to us since their creation, debasing the currency down by like
audio again.
Yeah, it's painful here, but you were coming in clear. The Federal Reserve Chairman Powell is now under criminal investigation for lying to Congress. Essentially, the Federal Reserve Chairman Powell is under federal investigation related to the $2.5 billion renovation of the central bank's headquarters and its congressional testimony about it. It's been a criminal referral has been made to the Justice Department to interview Powell about this. Oh, here is said headline as we're trying to reconnect with Simon again. Let's see how this goes. Are you back there, Simon? Federal pro.
No, I've got no audio. Your audio's gone completely, Sam. Unfortunately, I can't hear you. I'm going to try again.
Let's hear Powell's response to this. Okay, let's see. How's that? Can you hear me now?
No, I still can't hear you. But since we've gone past the half-hour mark, now would be the good time to play the first of our songs, if you can, and we'll try and reconnect while you're doing that. Thank you. So our theme is Might is Right, and this is a clip of one of the bands. Sam, you can introduce it, and I'll log out and log back in again, okay?
Here's Might is Right from Men Against Time. And thank you for bearing with us through the connection difficulties.
Might was right when Caesar bled upon the stones of Rome. Might was right when Genghis led his hordes of the Danube foam. Might was right when German troops were down through Paris way. It's the gospel of the ancient world and the logic of today. All government and law, all army corps, cannoneers to hold the world in awe. So strong people on the earth and ride the conqueror's call. Liberty has never been won except by deeds of war. Priests and kings, what are they but bold masterminds, best fitted for the fray, who comprehend and vanquish by the logic of today.
All right, great pick there by Simon. Let's see if we got a connection now. How's the connection now, Simon?
Hi there, Sam.
Hey.
You apparently might be able to hear me, but I still have no audio from you. I like the that's what is it? Men Against Time, and that's if this is the way that it ends, and then the song obviously was Might Is Right. It's interesting because I was reading how Stephen Miller, very much the deputy White House, going on various television interviews, flat is right, jungle, the three kind of power states are going to kind of rule the world. And so, unusually for us, we have a identical song title for all three of our songs today, but they are different genres of music. So we have kind of like a hard rock there, then we have a heavy metal version, and then a reggae version to end the show out with. But the lyrics are different and they are meaningful. It's interesting that the actual title, Might Is Right, has many different songs associated with that title. So it obviously is a very popular theme in music, and now it's a very popular theme in American politics. But if you can go to the next story, I'll try and re-enter so that I can actually hear what you're saying along with the rest of the grateful audience.
All right. Let's play Chairman of the Federal Reserve Powell's response to his criminal investigation here.
On Friday, the Department of Justice served the Federal Reserve with grand jury subpoenas, threatening a criminal indictment related to my testimony before the Senate Banking Committee last June. That testimony concerned in part a multi-year project to renovate historic Federal Reserve office buildings. I have deep respect for the rule of law and for accountability in our democracy. No one, certainly not the chair of the Federal Reserve, is above the law. But this unprecedented action should be seen in the broader context of the administration's threats and ongoing pressure. This new threat is not about my testimony last June or about the renovation of the Federal Reserve buildings. It is not about Congress's oversight role. The Fed, through testimony and other public disclosures, made every effort to keep Congress informed about the renovation project. Those are pretexts. The threat of criminal charges is a consequence of the Federal Reserve setting interest rates based on our best assessment of what will serve the public, rather than following the preferences of the president. This is about whether the Fed will be able to continue to set interest rates based on evidence and economic conditions, or whether instead monetary policy will be directed by political pressure or intimidation. I have served at the Federal Reserve under 4 administrations, Republicans and Democrats alike. In every case, I have carried out my duties without political fear or favor, focused solely on our mandate of price stability and maximum employment. Public service sometimes requires standing firm in the face of threats. I will continue to do the job the Senate confirmed me to do, with integrity and a commitment to serving the American people.
That's laughable. The Federal Reserve mandates full employment and price stability. They've failed on both there. And so this all feels like a smokescreen to me. Simon, you're back there with us?
So, Sam, I still have no audio from you, unfortunately. It seems you can hear me, but I'm not able to hear you at all. So I'll have to attempt to reconnect again, but if you just want to continue with the list of news stories you have, got a very organized show, so you'll be able to get through the other headlines, and I'll try and rejoin you in a manner such that I can actually communicate with you.
Sure. All right. Painful connections here as Simon is overseas. Okay. Well, moving on here. To protect the homeland, defend America, U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services has declared war on immigration fraud. That's what they're claiming today. And so here is that. Declared war on immigration fraud. So we got a war on drugs, we got a war on oil, we got a war on immigration fraud. There's a whole lot of war going on here. Here's Department of Homeland Security propaganda video. DHS has launched a program executive office to rapidly procure and deploy drone and counter-drone technology. And so they're rolling out a giant police state here now as we approach FIFA World Cup in America 2050 celebrations. And yeah, if you go to any large, and I'm sure they'll pare it down to small, public gathering, a soccer game, a political rally, it's a giant police state because go freedom, go America, because you're now deemed domestic terrorists by the Trump administration. Here's a propaganda video from Department of Homeland Security. Everyone praise your own slavery here now, essentially, with the rollout of this high-tech police state for our own safety, of course. Well, we almost had Simon back. Here he's back. We're going to have a good connection now. Really? Let's see. How's the connection now there, Simon?
I still have no audio from you, I'm afraid. It is interesting, though, how much America is now playing catch up in the drone. That they have the technology, but generally they've been much, much more expensive than their other peer competitors. And it turns out that still a great number of the components are actually ironically being made in China, particularly the motors. And so, whilst they're getting a lot of feedback from experience in Ukraine, there's now a drive to be able to make many, many more drones per month, but they're still at about a output expectation of 1/20th of that which is being consumed in the Ukraine conflict. And there's real concerns that they're not going to be able to generate the type of swarms that are being shown in public displays in China. Remember, we recently had the kind of Anglo New Year celebrations as opposed to, on January 1st, as opposed to being based upon the Chinese lunar calendar where it's generally around the middle of February. But they actually broke a Guinness World Record with the number of drone manner. There was over 10,000 drones in the sky and a giant whale in the sky. And whilst being a very, very impressive light display, it also makes one consider what kind of havoc could be rained upon a foe were each of those drones not flashing coloured lights, but actually dropping munitions.
Indeed, indeed. Weaponized drones here coming domestically to America for our own safety. And so, yeah, all the Democrats that love the illegal aliens have deported more illegal aliens than Trump has here now. So falling way short on mass deportation promises. The State Department has now revoked over 100,000 visas they posted today, including some 8,000 student visas and 2,500 specialized visas for individuals who had encounters with U.S. law enforcement for criminal activity. And so they're trying to get illegal aliens to self-deport, to revoke visas, but still falling incredibly short on the promise of mass deportation. On to where we at here now. Well, they launched the new food pyramid last week, and this week, well, there's a war. We're ending a war. So we start a whole lot of wars, but we ended one. The White House tells us we are ending the war on protein. And so if you didn't know, there was a war on protein. And the White House, through the Bobby Kennedy Jr. Health and Human Services, is saying we're ending that war now on protein. And they've started this new whole milk ad campaign. Here's Trump with the classic milk mustache. The milk mustache is back. Drink whole milk. And so also Bobby Kennedy Jr., part of this ad campaign, the milk mustache is back. Drink whole milk campaign there from the Health and Human Services Department. Simon, are you back with us?
So once again, I still can't hear you, but I'll throw in a comment there. I did actually see those ads. What is significant in this is not only has the food pyramid from the FDA been substantially revised, but in the presentation that was launched that new food pyramid, they pointed out that the reported dangers of animal-based saturated fats was actually fraudulent, and that the researchers knew that the information that was being disseminated was wrong, and that had actually been covered up for 16 years. So they finally acknowledge now that having, fat, so they're now encouraging people to consume a lot more protein, which should be pretty positive for the American beef industry. The problem is the price is already very, very high because demand has been greatly restricted. So it's all very well telling people that they should consume it, but if you're paying $10 a pound for ground chuck, it's pretty damn to increase your family's uptake of good American beef.
Indeed, indeed. Hopefully we can get the connection back where we're both talking to each other. But okay, continuing here. I want to play this clip. I don't want to miss this. Here's Fox News Peter Ducey. It's cute. In a throwback flashback clip here now of him being shot with direct energy weapons. And so it's pretty much acknowledged now the U.S. government is using direct energy weapons.
At one point, they launched something. I don't know how to describe it, he said. It was like a very intense sound wave. Suddenly, I felt like my head was exploding from the inside. The Pentagon is not yet saying exactly what weapon was used, but it sounds a lot like something this reporter got hit with at Quantico in this piece from 2013.
The military says the active denial system is not radioactive, it's not a microwave, and it's not a laser beam. It's instead a man-sized beam of millimeter waves that can be fired from up to 1,000 meters away that are designed to get the subject, whoever's standing on this X, really, really hot so that they move. And it's about 50 degrees out here right now, but I just felt like it was about 1,000, and I've never been inside a tub that somebody dropped a hairdryer in, but I would imagine that that's what it feels like.
Simon, can you hear me now?
I can, thank heavens for that. So that, as he said, was from 13. So they call them area denial weapons. They are a type of directed energy weapon, though not necessarily the kind that you need to have a blue roof for. And they do actually have these whereby they're relatively small and can be transported on vehicles easily. It's not just the type that you need some plane or a spacecraft flying overhead. And it's interesting that they seem to have, in a special forces operation, discovered enemy controlled equipment, which obviously could mean half of America if you're defining enemies according to the Trump administration definitions. But they're saying that all of these people who were claiming, particularly those who were stationed in Cuba, that they had been subjected to this type of technology, that it had lasting impacts in this case, not a temporary effect that you're able to run away from, as with Odysee. Supposedly, they've now captured the gear that members they were claiming were being used on them, but they were being denied benefits for the brain injuries. And now they've actually got the equipment. Was a genuine issue that appear occurring. So this ties in with the story with Ray.
We lost you again there, Simon. U.S. War Department, under this administration, the War Department will be AI first. And so this is quite scary, I would say. Unique GenAI.mil users, 900,000. I'm sure it won't be abused by any of these with access to GenAI.mil. And then here's a headline from today. Trump declares himself acting president of Venezuela after kidnapping President Maduro. And so here's the post by Trump on Truth Social. Trump's self-declared himself acting president of Venezuela. There you go. At least he's not screaming democracy. So Simon,
they're not pretending. They're not pretending anymore. And the story that came out about this attack, how 20 American Delta Force operators were able to overcome hundreds of Cuban and Venezuelan security personnel. There was an account that was published online, allegedly from one of the Venezuelan survivors of the assault, who very much described those type of aerial denial weapon effects. And a lot of people were very skeptical of his account. And what was interesting is that just shortly after that was published, Caroline Levitt, who's the press secretary, the White House press secretary, one of Trump's many cute blondes that he has working for him, she actually posted, "Hey, you better pay attention to this account," and actually appeared to give it some credence. And then, in its usual manner, we had the New York Times and the Wall Street Journal and other establishment organs, for want of another word, posting confirmations from unnamed sources in the intelligence agencies saying, "Yeah, we've had this tech for years, and now it's been used, for the first time on a large scale military assault." So it is probably quite a bit of cause for concern for some of the other leaders of the axis of evil, or the CRINC states, as they're now known: China, Russia, Iran, and North Korea. They've been nicknamed the CRINC countries, which is their initials, as opposed to the BRICS countries. And one wonders how they're are trying to modify their close protection details for their own leaders.
Yeah, everybody should be concerned. They've been the government's been using these weapons domestically on American citizens for what, I don't know, 20 years, let's say, a long freaking time, and now they're rolling them out in foreign operations and admitting it all. And so, yeah,
and they were openly used during the COVID lockdown demonstrations in Canberra, the capital, and they had them right out in display, and they zapped the whole crowd. And in that case, they all got surface skin burns, even though people had only been there for a short period. They all looked like they'd been in the sun for like 12 hours, and people's lips were burned, and their hair was going to sink, and their faces were bright red. And when the chief of police and some of the other security officials were summoned before the Australian Senate, they all completely denied it. You see the projectors right in front of the building. So people took photographs of them and kind of Google image search, and you're able to find the exact description, most of which had been supplied by the United States. And so it was beyond doubt that that used to drive the protest crowds away from the Parliament building.
Indeed, governments using direct energy weapons against their own citizens domestically, and now they're rolling out internationally in military operations. 2026, we are in sci-fi land. Okay, here over the weekend, nobody seems to notice, nobody seems to care. We bombed Somalia over 100 times here now under Trump, and we're bombing the hell out of Syria, i.e. strikes against ISIS. CENTCOM announced 3 strikes as part of Operation Hawkeye Strike over the weekend, bombing the hell out of ISIS in Syria here now.
And that's involving the British and the French as well. And then we just had Ursula von der Leyen and Mr. Da Costa, who's currently the I think the president of the European Council, who had just on medical treatment because supposedly there had been a gunfight inside the Syrian presidential palace, and he had actually been lightly wounded. His other associates had been seriously wounded. So it's not that it was a specific assassin attempt on him. It was just a disagreement that got very heated, and firearms were discharged.
As per usual, it seems. The nationwide Arsenal of Freedom tour is being carried out by Secretary of War Pete Hegseth. He's going on a tour earlier today, before we came on air. He's at the Lockheed.
I've lost your audio again. But if you would like to just continue with the next story, then we're coming close to the 60-minute mark. So you'll be able to play the second song of the show as well. This is just,
Sure.
You've got the time points there, okay? I'll leave and come back.
Sure. All right. Apologies for the connection issues. Simon is coming in clear here. So hopefully we can get him back and hearing me. Anyhow, yeah. The nationwide Arsenal of Freedom tour, Pete Hegseth at Lockheed Martin facility in Fort Worth, Texas earlier today. And so they're not even hiding it. They're pumping war big time. As we transition into what's going on with Greenland, over the weekend, this report came out. U.S. billionaires, Bill Gates, Peter Thiel, Lauder, Altman, Bezos, the big tech bros, right, pushing AI on everybody, have built a footprint in Greenland, investing in AI-driven drilling for rare earth minerals, and plans to develop a, quote, freedom city there. And many and other people commenting and analyzing this report say, well, yeah, makes sense to have your AI data centers there to be cooled for much of the year naturally. And so, of course, we want to liberate the people of Greenland from the tyrannical Denmark government. But it seems like the real reason here now is technocracy, and the AI data centers are in large part driving the decision to either take the silver or the lead offer to Greenland here now. Here's our next musical interlude, and then we'll be back and break down this big speech out of the EU. And so reportedly Stephen Miller's new theme song there.
Can you please bookmark that, because I'm going to play that at my mother's 90th birthday party. So please bookmark that one. I have to remember the victory and death.
Ode to Stephen Miller there, Simon. Okay, what about, before we get to this EU speech, what about the reporting that there are aardvarks over there burning down South America, burning down Patagonia and Chile? What do we know about these reports?
Yeah, so there's been massive demonstrations in Argentina and in Chile. By sheer coincidence, the Milei administration through a piece of legislation that provided for public lands to be privatized and indeed subject to foreign ownership if areas of national parks or outstanding natural beauty were defaced by wildfire, which in some cases seemed more due to military incendiary devices of Israeli being accidentally ignited by wandering members of the IDF reserve hiking in the exact same locations that the fires are breaking out, and then round and buying up all the land. And interestingly enough, when Netanyahu met with Trump, and remember, he ended up staying with him all 4 days in Mar-a-Lago, and they had their Eve reception together. He was actually photographed with a map of Patagonia on the desk in front of him in one of his meetings with Trump. And it turns out not only have various Jewish organizations been the occupation of those areas, members of the Aardvark associations over 120 years to 1905, where they were actually saying they should occupy Palestine and southern Argentina because the one was religiously dictated and the other one was because it had bountiful resources. You would have thought that God's chosen all of those kind of items. But there's now this other story about this project, Guyana, which apparently originates back as 1882, which was the Aardvark to occupy South America, south of Venezuela, which is the dividing line for the plan to form the American Technocracy, which was to run from the North Pole all the way down to Venezuela and Guyana, and that was hatched in the 1930s. Actually, the information about that is available at archive.net, and that's the plan to have the Technocracy. So they were going to do away with democracy in Mexico and Panama and Colombia and Venezuela, and it was all going to be run by scientists.
So we lost Simon, but there's the map. I'm sure it's been floating around the interwebs. You can see it right there. Yep. There's Greenland and Venezuela and Cuba.
From Greenland and Cuba, all coincidentally. Yeah. So that was that was the plan during the 1930s. Yeah.
All these old plans rehatched. They're rehatching
now. What's interesting about the technocracies is that ties in with the freedom cities, and it turns out that there have been advocates of building a freedom city, which is all supposed to be this kind of technocratic utopia, not only in Greenland but also in Venezuela. So these plans are very, very much being drawn back, and supposedly these are the prototype for the society on Mars, where obviously Elon Musk will be the overlord, and there's not going to be one man, one vote, or one person, one vote there. There's very much going to be do as you're told, or you get put on a rocket ship to Venus.
Okay, Simon, before we get to this EU speech, the intellectual Big Bang, quickly on Iran. What is going on in Iran? It's all legitimate protest against the Ayatollah, is that right?
Well, the Aardvarks got a bit carried away with themselves, along with some of their associates, such as Mike Pompeo.
We lost you there again.
And they've been boasting a lot about how there were Mossad agents actually in the crowd, and there was a hacking organization called Handala, and they claimed to have identified the Mossad ringleader by name and hacked all of his comms, even the top secret kind of covert aardvark systems that he was using. And they've now identified 600 people that he was communicating with, and lots of other quite renowned commentators have been talking about these anti-regime militia organizations that have been not just instigating the demonstrations, but also actually in carrying out acts of violence very, very similar to the Maidan revolution in Ukraine, where they actually imported snipers and they were shooting into the crowd, and then all the civilian casualties were blamed upon the security. It does appear that the government has interfered with the internet and update with exactly what has been occurring there. But certainly the change that appears to have occurred during the course of today is there have been very, very large, massive pro-government demonstrations. So it looks like the mullah's regime, as the neocons would say, have, and we'll just have to wait and see if Trump decides to intervene militarily. He supposedly has been reviewing a list of options which included massive cyber attacks, and that may in part be linked to the internet.
Indeed.
Connected the from the internet. He was also direct military strikes upon facilities within Iran, but they have preempted that by saying that they would strike US bases all across the Middle East were that to occur. And so he seems to have backed off from that for the time being. He did speak on willing to meet the Iranians. The Iranian Foreign Minister, Mr. Aragachi, has reached out via intermediaries and is trying to meet with Steve Witkoff. But it should be remembered that that's exactly what happened in June. They had actually agreed in Oman, and that was when the aardvarks and America whacked all of their nuclear facilities. So unfortunately, this does seem to be a common trend. It's alleged that that's why that had command center was because it had actually been that he was going to receive a call from Trump time, and then whether or not that whole thing was completely contrived or whether or not it was leaked by the CIA to the Ukrainians to have 91. Where it was believed that he was to receive the phone call from Trump, but fortunately from him, the Russians had been sneaky and he was taking the call at another location. So the aardvarks and America have a long history. They would say of engaging in deception, but other people might say it's just flat out dishonest, where you're essentially engaging in open peace negotiations. And when your opponents gather together to consider your proposals, then you try and do a decapitation strike on them.
That seems the aardvark policy here now, we've learned.
But Sam, if you're ready, if you can show that, I've once again lost your audio, but maybe we can manage against it. All of our audience members who have been previously married will know what it feels like just to be talking to yourself, it seems, the entire time. But on this occasion, what I'll do is read through the speech of the European Defence and Space Commissioner. He's actually a Lithuanian gentleman. Not quite sure how far down the list he was. A lot of people supposedly turned down this job. It has been trying to fulfill a scheme that has been in play for over a decade, essentially to form a standalone European army separate from NATO. Now, he was speaking at a conference just this weekend in Sweden, a very long running conference, and the theme was defense and people. Obviously, it's been hard for many of these think tanks and bureaucrats to keep up with events because they have been changing at a very, very rapid pace. The changes in the world are accelerating, as President Xi said in his New Year's address to the Chinese nation, whether you include Taiwan in that description or not. And so this is very significant for his use of the word unity, but I'll highlight that when we get to it in the speech. But Sam, at the moment, I can neither see you nor hear you. So at the moment, I wouldn't be able to read through that document. So I'm going to leave and come back, and then we'll get into this. Our audience will be happy to know that it's not a very long speech. He has 4 key points, but they're relatively brief.
All right, we're trying to get it together here. Shout out to everybody. I see Ruckus tuning in there. Ruckus missed. Well, good for you, because we've been having broken communications. Hopefully, Simon can see this, and we'll wrap it up here. Are you back there, Brother Simon? Can you hear? Can you see?
Okay, so I can see you, which is I can't hear you. So if you zoom in a little bit, because that's too small for me to be able to read. So if you can you just zoom in so I can see the text a little bit larger? That's great. Okay, that's fine. Thank you very much. So this is Andreas Kubilius speaking at this conference in Sweden this weekend, and he says, in this panel with Europe under pressure, and you asked me to say a few words about Europe's resolve in the age of uncertainty. And if you could just scroll down, Sam, I'll keep talking, and you find that you're not hearing me, then you'll have to. It's interesting. He explains what he was told to do privately when he was in this role, Ursula von der Leyen, though his post now for about 18 months. And he says, from the beginning of my mandate, I have repeated that we are facing 2 challenges: the Russian threat and American withdrawal towards the Indo-Pacific. Today, Russia's military budget in purchasing power parity terms, that's accounting for how much extra you get for a ruble. He 5% of defense spending of all of the EU. That bit touchy because the Europeans, when they met in Paris with Macron and Starmer and the heads of about another 30 countries, the post-ceasefire plan involving at least 15,000 French and British troops surging into Ukraine, and the Russians have categorically stated that's exactly the thing that they're fighting against, and they're not going to agree to that. But the European Defence Commissioner goes on to say, even if peace will be established, he, Putin, will continue with a war economy. The USA officially is asking us to be ready to take all of the responsibility for the conventional defense of Europe. And notice he specifies conventional, so they're assuming that the extended nuclear deterrence, the nuclear umbrella, will remain from America over Europe. But he goes on, interestingly enough, to say that we, the Europeans, cannot disagree with such a request. So that would be very consistent with Trump's policy goals there. And that's why he was pushing them to increase their defense spending from 2% per country to 5%, albeit that the 5 was going to include budgets and key infrastructure spending in order to provide for military logistics. But all the countries have agreed to that apart from Spain. He then goes on to say, this is why from the beginning of our mandate, we started the whole agenda of defense 2030. What a coincidence. The date is 2030. Because we understood that Europe is a of defense challenges and that we need to make a big bang in defense. So not only is it an intellectual big bang, but ironically, it is actually a big bang in terms of massively increasing to make artillery and other munition systems. He goes on to say, at that time, there was no United States national security strategy, which came out on no Venezuela, which means the Venezuela attack. No threats.
Yeah, you're breaking up bad, Simon.
It's just threats to Greenland.
Gee, so frustrating. He's breaking up bad there. I can hear him on my end very well. Let's see how it goes.
But their own roundup from their intelligence agency in its document said in no less than that place that I read through it, that there was actually a threat to the security of Greenland.
Yeah, it's unintelligible, Simon. I'm gonna have to cut you off. I'm gonna read it here now. He's unintelligible. I'm sorry for that connection issue. Where he left off here, we started the whole agenda of Defense Readiness 2030 because we understand that Europe is under pressure of defense challenges and that we need to go for a big bang in defense. At that time, still, there was no United States national security strategy, no Venezuela, and no threats to Greenland. Now it's even more clear that we need to build Europe's independence, as the Commission president repeated during the last year. That is not very new. Commission President Juncker, President Macron, Chancellor Merkel were speaking very similar words 10 years ago after the Russian occupation of Crimea. That Europe must be more independent and autonomous, that we must overcome industrial fragmentation, and that we must have interportability, and even that we need to have a European army. But it didn't materialize. Now it is the time to deliver because of Chancellor Mertz recently said the times of Pax Americana are over. Defense independence means that we need to be defense ready inside NATO, but with much less American presence in Europe. Uncertainty of the future of the transatlantic partnership demands our resolve. Defense readiness of Europe, in my view, has three major pillars. First, material defense readiness, money, production, weapons. Second, institutional defense readiness, how to organize ourselves in the defense of Europe, especially if the Americans will shift from Europe. Third, political defense readiness, the will to detour and defend if need be, to fight. If one pillar fails, all the defense readiness fails. During 2025, we focus our attention mainly on material defense readiness, and we managed to achieve quite a lot with new money, safe loans, and pledges on 5% defense spending. That's what Simon was talking about, Trump pressuring more defense spending from them and less from America. With the new strategy on material defense readiness, white paper, and defense readiness roadmap, and with new policies, EDIP, defense readiness simplification, omnibus, communication of defense industry transformation, and the military mobility package, there are a lot of big positive things happening and will happen with our material defense readiness, but more money alone does not bring everything we need for defense readiness. As Saucer General said, and as experts make clear, just pouring more money on old defense structures will not bring the needed qualitative transformation of our defense, and we will not build our defense independent. Burrell was the first who called our existing national military force Bosnia armies. We need to start to invest our money in such a way that we would be able to fight as Europe, not just as a collection of 27 national Bosnia armies. So what else must we do besides a big bang in defense money in order to make radical progress? My answer, we need to start to look much more deeply into the problems of our institutional defense readiness. That's why we need an institutional big bang in order to bring new ideas and bold decisions. A lack of unity is our problem. That is why, first of all, we need to answer a very simple question. Would the United States be militarily strong if they would have 50 armies on the states levels instead of a single federal army, 50 state defense policies and defense budgets on the state level instead of a single federal defense policy and budget? If your answer is no, U.S. would not be stronger, then what are we waiting for? Our citizens have a very clear answer. A recent publication in Politico shows that in Spain, Belgium, and Germany, around 70% of citizens prefer defense of their country by a European army instead of a national army, 10%, or NATO, 12%. I don't know if I would base a whole lot off of Politico polling, but he is here. Europe under pressure demands more unity. Unity comes with institutional changes. In such times, we should not run away from most pressing questions on our institutional defense readiness. First question, if the Americans would shift from Europe, how do we create a European pillar of NATO? Who will the European saucer? Who will be the European saucer? What's the European command and control capabilities? European headquarters? Most importantly, how will we replace the 100,000 strong American standing military force, which is the backbone military force in Europe? Who will form our European standing backbone military force, Germans, throw them in the meat grinder one more time. What the hell? A collection of 27 Bosnian armies that look nice, but are clipped, cut down, shrunk, or as Juncker, Macron, Merkel already proposed 10 years ago and supported today by experts and Europeans, the creation of a powerful standing European military force of 100,000 troops. Second question, how can we create a true European defense union, which is the task in my mission letter I received at the start of my mandate? Should it include the UK and Norway? Should it include Ukraine, its military forces, its defense industry, its battle-tested experience? And the third question, how can European defense industry be really defragmented? What united political leadership is needed for that? How can pan-European defense projects be developed in the most effective way, which until now has been almost impossible? Fourth question, how can the European Union be ready to implement Article 42.7 of the EU Treaty on the obligation of mutual assistance for member states which face an armed aggression? Who will coordinate us in the case of such a crisis? All these and similar questions are related to our institutional defense readiness until now. And also, during the last decade, we were not able to put into practice our institutional ideas about our defense. Why not? In my opinion, because we lack a proper united leadership platform to discuss the most important European defense issues. The answer, my personal suggestion, to use more intensively the positive experience with the informal E5 Plus platform for such strategic decisions. In my view, it would be important to upgrade and formalize such kind of platform into a format of a European Security Council. The idea for a European Security Council was proposed and discussed already between 2017 and 2019 by Macron, Merkel, and then the Chancellor of Germany. Merkel in 2028 called for the establishment of a European Security Council with rotating members in which important decisions would be more swiftly prepared. That is exactly what is now very much needed. The European Security Council could be composed of key permanent members along with several rotational members, including the member state with the council presidency, plus the leadership of the EU Commission and council presidents. And when discussing broader European security, also the UK, in total around 10 to 12 members with the task to discuss the most important issues in defense, some of which I just mentioned before, and not only discussing, but also swiftly preparing important decisions. I believe it's now an urgent task to turn this idea into reality. And the first task force for such a European Security Council would be Ukraine. For the time being, there are no signs that Putin will agree with the peace plan. In this case, simply continuing the same level of our support to Ukraine risks deterioration of Ukraine's situation and ultimately risk that Putin will prevail. We need to have a clear answer. How is the EU going to change that scenario? This is the reason why we need to have a European Security Council now. And let me conclude with few words about our political defense readiness, our political will to fight. As you know, I am from Lithuania, and Sweden is a godmother or godfather of our independence and our membership of the EU and even membership of NATO. We will never forget the Baltic Freedom Mondays in Stockholm. We will never forget 7,000 people protesting in Stockholm after Soviet tanks attacked our TV tower in Vilnius, and 14 people were killed on tomorrow, I guess, or today, whenever the anniversary is January 13th, 1991. This week exactly 35 years ago, and on the day of protest for the first time since the end of the Second World War, all the church bells in Stockholm were ringing in solidarity. We heard the bells ringing across the sea, and half a year later, you were among the first to recognize our independence. This is what political defense readiness is about: standing together as a nation and as Europeans and together with Ukraine. Thanks a lot. Let's see if we can bring, well, we just lost Simon again there. So we're past the hour and a half mark. We'll see if we can get Simon on to wrap up this broadcast. Simon, are you there with us? Still no connection. Well, thank you, Simon. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in on this Monday edition and muddling through our connection problems. It was on again, off again.
Unfortunately, I still have no audio from you, Sam, but thank you very much for doing a good that. I could follow where your cursor was. So it remains to be seen as to what steps the European Union members pursue in order to do that. It's interesting that Viktor Orban, who's now under a very hard-fought re-election campaign, has revealed that Zelensky has presented a plan to the European Union whereby Ukraine would join by 2027, so literally within 2 years. But alongside joining the European Union, he's told them that he wants 800 billion euros. So that's about $900 billion. And that's not for military spending. That's just in civil support for the next 10 years. So Orban's warning that if they let Ukraine in, it's going to create a massive sucking fiscal chest wound that I think a lot of people are massively underestimating. And it would appear that a large that ties in, of course, with Merz, who was the European chairman of BlackRock. So he doesn't appear to mind if a large percentage of the European taxpayers' money actually gets recycled into BlackRock profits. Okay, so I'm sure you'll want to say various fond farewells to the audience. During the course of the proceedings, unless I missed it, I don't think you showed anybody the opportunity to purchase one of our specially selected T-shirts.
No, I didn't. I haven't done any commercials
For the rest of the month of January. There's some very good ones. Dante being attacked by demons, the Circle of Angels, some great aardvark, very humorous T-shirts. The Hall of Serpents, US Congress, though these serpents appear to be a bit more active than our congressional members, who, it should be recalled, had many, many weeks off. 17 days away to do that yet again, because despite the fact that they rolled it for 3 months, they still haven't got the final year's budget sorted out. And so we may well find that the whole of fiscal year 2025/2026 is indeed done on a CR basis. Absolutely appalling. Makes wonder what will happen if Trump does indeed lose, not only on the tariff battle but also on the midterms that we have later on this year. But the final song that we got is with the same title, Might is Right, but this is not not to operate on that basis, done in a Jamaican reggae style. So our audience are most welcome to smoke a product of their particular choice and authentic manner. It's too late to grow your hair into dreadlocks, but always set that as your goal.
All right, we got most of that. Thank you very much, Simon, for tuning in. Thank you, audience, for sticking with us through the connection problems. We did an hour and a half with limited interruptions there. Commercial free. Everybody go to weaponizednews.com. Get yourself some stickers over there. Help support independent reported and analysis on the internet here. We got the holograph sticker, the white background sticker, and the clear sticker. Put it on your laptop, your bumper, your guitar, your work locker, your hard hat, as listeners have done. We appreciate all the subscribers out there on the different channels. In the description below this video is the link to the Weaponized News store. Go give Simon a follow over there on the X as well, at Simon from Flory 2 on the X, and give me a follow at Weaponized News if you're not already. And with that, we're going to wrap up this Monday broadcast. As always, everybody do your own research, peace, love, and freedom. Speak out and take action. Have a great rest of your Monday evening, and we'll be back here at our regular time tomorrow, Tuesday, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 Eastern, for more Weaponized News. Here is simply Might is Right playing us out.
Systemics that are so unsteady. Earth made with so much beauty, so much beauty. Still feel good, how to still feel most right. It won't be all, let it be most right. Steering clear light, don't let it be simply might is right. Don't let it be simply might is right. The world became distraction needy. Tactile rabbits as dignitaries, and they're out of touch with the streets so very. The ball and gown and making merry, while the survival is counting pennies. Still feel good, how to still feel most right. It won't be all, let it be most right. Steering clear light, don't let it be simply might is right. Don't let it be simply might is right. Simply might is right. Yes. It's not so nice to consider the blight, the results of war and strife. Earth made with so much beauty, so much duty. Not enough time to be so unruly. Goals and preparation moved on already. Whoa, don't be so heady. Still feel good, how to still feel most right. It won't be all, let it be most right. Steering clear light, don't let it be simply might is right. Don't let it be simply might is